Hello, welcome to the More Cheese, Less Whiskers.com podcast. My name's Dean Jackson, and today we're talking with Victor Pacini. And Victor is a gentleman I've known for several years now. We've been working together on his program that helps schools fulfill the Erin's Law mandate. Now, you might not know what Erin's Law is, but it's a law that mandates that schools are required to educate the students about sexual abuse. And so Victor has an amazing story, and he has an amazing program that provides a solution for schools for fulfilling their Erin's Law mandate. And so over the years, he's perfected his ability to do the presentation. He's written a book that helps schools really fulfill on that and introduce them to his services of being able to do the presentations. So it's been a neat journey to see happen, and one that's been really successful for Victor in that he's completely booked for doing all of the programs. And what we're talking about on this episode is specifically the opportunity to now expand beyond just Victor and to use the book and to use the system that he's generated to keep himself fully booked, to help other people and expand this opportunity to really help fulfill the Erin's Law mandate all over the country. So this is a great story of starting out with one guy, with one presentation, with one opportunity to get in front of schools and be able to fully systemize that opportunity so that he's fully booked and now looking to expand beyond just him being able to do the presentations. So I think you're going to really enjoy this episode.
Victor Pacini.
Hey, Dean, how are you?
I am good. I am very excited about talking to you today.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I'm really excited. It's awesome. I've been listening to all the episodes, so it's very exciting, and thank you again.
Well, this is going to be kind of neat because we've got a lot of history. I mean, you've been in our world for a long time. You were actually part of the first Breakthrough Blueprint online group that we did, I remember. And then we've done everything together from email mastery and a 90-minute book. And so I know some of the backstory about how things are working. And usually when I start out on these episodes, I don't really know people. So what I'd love is if maybe you could take a few minutes and explain the backstory here, like catch everybody up to where we are today, and then we can build on that and hatch some bigger and even more evil schemes for you. But I'd love to just hear how you put everything together so far and maybe catch everybody up on where we are right now.
Sure. Yeah. So basically, I've been speaking in schools predominantly for almost 18 years now. And I'll be honest with you, when I started doing that, I always loved it. I started singing. It's even a backstory. I started performing when I was 8 years old in nightclubs, doing a tribute to Elvis when I was a little boy. So it's kind of that's a whole other story. Mars. Exactly. That's exactly what I did.
Bruno Mars got started.
Yeah, exactly. So I did that for about, since I was 8. I've been performing ever since. But when I got out of college, I was, doing graphic design work and not really fulfilled. And so I thought I wanted to be a teacher. So I decided to go into maybe go that route. And I landed a job as an aide at a school. So make a long story short, I happened to meet this little boy with Down syndrome. He had heard that I was going to be performing for the kids at the school, because I went up to the principal and I said, listen, I'd like to perform for the kids, show them what I've been doing in nightclubs since I was a kid. And he agreed to it. And so Matt comes up to me on the playground, this little boy, and he says, could I sing with you? Well, that turned into a song that he came up and sang "Johnny Be Good With Me" in front of hundreds of kids. And at the end of the song, every student gave him a standing ovation. He then put up his hands like he had just won the Chicago Marathon. And a teacher came up to me and said, you have something here. And I didn't know what that was. So all I did was I started going off of that. I enjoyed being with the kids. But I was really close to going into college, to getting my master's degree in education, and something kind of happened where I started writing lyrics to songs, and then these people showed up in my life, these awesome songwriters, and started writing songs, and so that became the hook that I use when I go to schools. I use music to connect with kids, but then it turned into these self-empowering programs for students about believing in yourself, about character building and all that. And so I developed a list of programs that I took to schools. Well, in the beginning, it became, it was very challenging because I was, and I'll say this because this is the reality of it. I was trying to promote me, my face over everything. And of course, it's me doing it, so I have to have some of that. But then I started going into, okay, well, what is this thing called marketing? And what's interesting is you had recommended watching The Founder, and I watched that movie and recently, and it just brought back all these memories because Ray Kroc was down in the dumps when he had all these places that were starting up McDonald's, but he wasn't making any money until that guy told him. He said, you are in the wrong business. You're thinking of the wrong business. You're not in the hamburger business. You're in the real estate business. And so for me, I'm sure you know James Malinchak. I started following him, and he said, you're not in the speaking business. You're in the business of marketing your speaking services. So that was a shift for me. And that's when I started, looking into, Joe and you, and I started diving into, okay, what can I do and to really get to not let it be a hobby, because it was, I wasn't booked all the time. I was getting some jobs here and there, and I had no real strategy. So long story short, I kind of been implementing a lot of things I've learned from all of you for the last couple of years, and it kind of brings me to where my career really changed was in 2013, a law was passed called Erin's Law, and it's a law in Illinois and now in almost 30 states that says that schools have to have sexual abuse awareness and prevention curriculum and education throughout the school year, every single year. It's a mandate. And it kind of got me thinking, a lot of the reasons why I went into speaking with children was to give kids a voice and to tell them that they should have dreams and goals. And I had a voice to say my opinions when I was younger. And my dad was not I love my dad, but he wasn't the one that wanted to hear what I wanted to say. And he was like, you should be seen and not heard, kind of a philosophy. So, So I went with that, and then thinking with this law, because being in nightclubs when I was 8 years old, I met a lot of interesting people, and that led to I was abused as an 8-year-old little boy, and I kept it an unsafe secret for 11 years until I decided to talk about it when I was 19, and then my life changed, and that's when I started going inside and reading and writing and doing all these great things. So when this law was passed in 2013, I thought, you know what? I can do this. I can create a program. I want to share my story. I never really could because it was taboo. And so I started putting together a program that goes to schools and it interacts with kids and it educates kids to have a voice. And that's what it's doing. And it led me to okay, I want to really crack the code on how to really connect with as many schools as possible to get my message in. Well, it's turned into, this year I've done over 500 presentations, and it's been incredible, doing 5 a day, and I love every second of it. However, it's a lot, and so I love this opportunity with you because I would love to see how, I've kind of cracked the code where people are really getting to know what my work is, and they know that it is effective. But now it's like, well, how can I scale it so that I can scale back my live presentations a little bit and maybe, do what we had talked about before, like how do I get my live streams out there where I'm in one school, but yet I'm broadcasting to hundreds of schools, and how I can, take my licensee, which I'm taking, a guy came on board last year with his own story of abuse, and now he's going to schools under my Be Seen and Heard umbrella, and he's doing it, and he's doing great, but it's slow for him because it takes time to get out there when you're on your own licensing and all that stuff. So that's kind of where we're at. So
very fascinating. I mean, it's nice to hear you say it all together. I mean, I've seen it all happen, piece by piece as we go here, and been part of helping with the process of cracking the code to get to where you're now fully booked, as you would say, really for you, over fully booked, which is kind of
right.
a cool thing. So let's talk about because I do have some ideas for leveraging everything for kind of the next level of this here. But maybe you can describe the process right now, how it works, what's the model that is that you've kind of landed on here that is keeping you fully booked. What are the ahas or the realizations that you had along the way while cracking that code?
Right. Well, I mean, it started a few years ago when a friend of mine in this industry, if you will, of speaking at schools, and he I remember this was maybe 10 years ago. I would go to his office and he would have all these envelopes, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Well, this is really, he wasn't into the internet as much and doing emails, but he would send out invitations to school districts that were surrounding the schools that he was going to and invite people to come see his presentation," which is just a huge no-brainer when you think about it, because I'm getting paid to speak, but yet I have all these people coming, so I call it a paid showcase. I'm showcasing my work, but I'm getting paid. Yeah. So that has been when I started the Erin's Law presentations, that became my one strategy that really snowballed. I had one district come out to see my presentations, and then that turned into they booked me for their district, and so it kind of it snowballed, and then you keep inviting people to come see it, and then word of mouth happens, and things happen that way. But now what I do is I right before I go into a district, up until I started Email Mastery, I was broadcasting to, I mean, it was personal in the sense it would say the person's name, but I was broadcasting, hey, instead of saying I'm going to be able to say Victor Pacini, like who's Victor Pacini, is going to be
right.
Right. I mean, I'm not trying to put myself down.
But Victor Pacini is going to be performing.
Right. Right. And so what? I mean, but it would say Victor Pacini will be at this district on this date. Please come and, if you'd like to come and see it and see what he's doing, that maybe it can come to your school, blah, blah, blah. So, and it was long, it was cumbersome, I thought. And then Email Mastery opened my eyes up in the sense that, like, now I can literally just write a short, expecting a reply email to one person, even though it might be going out to hundreds of people, and say, hey, I'm going to be in your area on around this time, whatever, January, presenting my Erin's Law mandate, just in case they don't know, because a lot of schools don't know that it's a mandate necessarily. I don't have the exact words in front of me, but I'd like to invite you to come see the presentation, and feel free to invite any of your colleagues. And it would say something like that, or it may say something like, would you like to attend, expecting a reply. And I've been getting so many responses. Even if they say, no, thank you, we have something in place, at least I know that. Which is fantastic, and then I can kind of move them aside. But then I'll get people to say, yeah, when is it? Could you tell me the dates?
Right. And that's what you want. Yeah, now you're engaged in the dialogue.
Exactly. And then they show up, and I would have to say that I'm getting probably, the majority, 95% of the districts that come see me are booking me because they're seeing it right there. It's not a video, promotional video. It's me right there. They're going to see it. Then they can interact with the people that are in charge of that school, and it just becomes a great transition into their district. So that's been fantastic. That's been my one strategy that has been working very, very nicely. So.
That's so great. And then how now are you integrating your book into the process?
Okay, so the book is been it's been really cool, because what I did was, and this is some of the questions I want to ask you today, but I have a few people that are just so they're so supportive of what this is all about, helping children. I have social workers helping me. I have, my assistants helping me. They're all going online literally because all of these contacts, the people that I need to know, social workers and the curriculum directors at school districts, it's all public knowledge at their websites of their schools. They're doing the research for me, and then I'm putting together an email that's sending out, hey, would you like I've written a book that helps fulfill Erin's Law. I call it the Erin's Law Solution. I'd like you to have a copy of it. And simply, they click on it, they go to the landing page, which I've set up through GoGo Clients, and they download the book, they get a digital copy of it, and I already have it set up so they get a bunch of emails after that to educate and motivate them throughout the process. And
right.
It's been really great. I mean, I haven't had a lot of conversion yet, but I have probably, I would have to say, a good 100 people that have opted in to get the book since I started this a few months ago, which I think it's a really good start because they're in, they raise their hand and they're interested and they want to know more. I guess where I get a little frustrated is that, okay, well, I'm, and I know this is all about educating and motivating until they're ready, but I'm ready. So
I'm ready now.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
I look at this that, you look at what is the, if you're getting to the right people, like who are you sending the invitations to download the book?
Well, here's the thing. I have people are saying that I gave them specific instructions, like to say, okay, the social workers at the school districts, at the schools, I should say, social workers or counselors or psychologists or people that work with kids in this capacity, right? These are the heart center of, they think with their hearts and they're very feelings, driven. So they're not the decision makers, which I know that, but they're good people to get them to say, hey, we should look at this, and then they can forward it on to the right people. But I do also know the right people, and those are typically the superintendents, not of the district necessarily, but the superintendents of curriculum who are in charge of instruction and putting the classes and all the topics together. They're a lot of times the people that actually hire me to do the presentations at the school.
Yeah, and so you look at it, the way I look at anything like this, like you said a couple of things that were, that are pretty, I think, important in this whole piece here. That number one, it's a mandate, so it's required. And number two, they have to do it every year. And so when you look at it, some of the, you say the last couple of months here, which is sort of the second half of the school year here. So there's a good chance that some of those people have already figured out how to fulfill their mandate for this year, but that they're thinking ahead, and those people, presumably the majority of them, will still be in the position that they're in, and that conversation is going to start again when they start planning the next school year, and that you will come up, especially since you are continuing to educate and motivate people, and that's where the whole idea of having your super signature on every one of the emails that you're sending is a valuable thing. And the asset that you have are the 100+ people who have downloaded the book, especially because the only ones getting the invitations to download the book are the people who are, key people or the decision makers, if they're not the key people. So you've got the right audience there. I look at it that, where do we measure your ROI there? How do you measure the return on that list, And so that asset that you're building is you've got 100+ people who are the right people, and they've already downloaded your book. So they're kind of have indicated some interest on that level,
Right. And so is the next step with that is just you literally, because I have all these pre-programmed in, these autoresponders, and they're getting them, every couple weeks. I'm not doing it every week necessarily. I'm finding with educators, and I don't know, I could be wrong, but they don't necessarily like that they get so many emails, every day.
And, you got to find the right, that's what we're saying, like with our, we will do, on the real estate side, with buyers, we'll do, up to every day, but with people who are raise their hand as sellers, potential listings, we will do less frequent, but maybe do by mail something once a month, right? So finding the right balance is the right thing, but just knowing that every year means every year. And these people that you've communicated with, you're going to be top of mind for whenever that next opportunity comes, So when does the planning process typically happen for this? Like what's the typical window? Is it possible that, it's already, as we're recording this, middle of May? Is it possible that they may not have done what they need to do, and they need to scramble and get something in at the last minute? Or is it pretty typical that they plan ahead and know when and what they're going to do?
It's an interesting question, because I've had people call me up until like last week and say, we haven't fulfilled our errands law. Are you available for this date? Well, I'm not. So I can't. So I'm booked. And then but the problem is too, a lot of times that I'm finding the pattern is when they're waiting to the last minute, it also means that they don't necessarily have the budget to do it by the end of the year. So when I say, I can send out my other speaker who does the exact same program as me, and which is great for me, because I really am see, that's the thing. I'm trying to start thinking like it's a we thing. It's not just, I can send out me or one of my speakers. I need to start implementing that mindset, because up until this year it was just me, and so I want people to know that, hey, you may not get me now because I'm so booked up, and that's a good feeling to have. So that's something that's important. But also, it's pretty much anyone who's calling these last, it's because they don't have a budget necessarily, and they want to just scramble and do something. So now it's still happening, but not. I don't have any dates available. But what they're doing now is, I will get my goal. My goal for like in the next couple of weeks is to sign up the districts that had me last year, because I have an ongoing program that I bring and I change every year on purpose, so that so that they don't get stale, but also the kids are getting review, but they're also getting new material, and it also allows me to be bookable year after year. And Right. So my goal is to get 90% of the districts that had me last year to rebook me for this year.
Right.
And one strategy that I'm doing is, hey, I'm asking you to book me now for next year, which would be great. However, I'm really asking you, and it's working slowly, but hey, how about this? You're going to want to book me every year. So let's do a 3-year commitment. I'll freeze your price so it doesn't go up year after year. You'll have me for 3 years. It's a done deal. We'll do one contract per year, so that, there's no worries about, you have to give me all the money now, and we'll do 1 year at a time, but at least you'll lock in your dates, and you'll know you'll have me come speak at your school. So that's what I'm offering them now. And the majority, right? And so the majority will probably book me, because they are ahead of the game. A lot of them want to get their dates on the calendar for next year. But come August 1st to, I'd say, middle of September, that's a good window for the districts that say, hey, we have to do it this year. Let's book now, and hopefully then I book up the rest of my schedule. And my goal for next year is to say, hey, Tom, I'm booked up. I'm sending you here, here, and here, and here. You know what I mean? Yeah. My licensee. That's the goal. That's the real good goal for them.
And that's really a great way to think about it. Like your you've got an interesting situation in that there's the program is transferable like that, where you can train somebody how to deliver it. And the goal, it's not that, it's like I mentioned and use this line a lot, that there's the choice that you have to make is whether you want to be rich or famous. And that, I don't know whether you've heard me talk about this, but I was flying to LA once. I was reading in Forbes magazine how they had the top 100 entertainers, how they rank everything. And this was several years ago, but I remember this so distinctly because it freaked me out the way that the timeline of what happened. I was reading in Forbes, and is it Forbes or Fortune? I think it's Forbes, the top entertainer list. And I saw on the list that Siegfried and Roy were on the list with, they had just signed a new contract with the Mirage to end out their career kind of thing there. They signed a long-term deal, $35 million. And they had to do 8 shows a week for 42 weeks a year. That was their contract, right? And I thought, wow, two things. That's a lot of money, but that's a lot of work. That's a lot of like doing the same thing, right? And then I kept going, and higher up on the list was the Blue Man Group. Are you familiar with the Blue Man Group? Guys with the blue face paint. And they made $69 million. And I thought, wow, that's great. But then I read they had an article in there about them. And what I found out was that they had 34 blue men, and they had 11 concurrent shows running in Las Vegas and Chicago and New York and Toronto and Paris and wherever else. They had these shows going on. And what I found out was that the guys that created the show, there were 4 originators of it, that they don't perform anymore, that they just have this army of blue men that do these shows. And what really was fascinating was that when they started the show, there's 4 of them, but it's a 3-man show. And the reason they did that was because that would give them leeway that if somebody couldn't make it for whatever, they'd have a 4th guy, And the blue paint really kind of made it that they could train anybody to do it. Right? Because, and that really struck me at that point, that the difference is, when you go to see Siegfried and Roy, you're expecting to see Siegfried and Roy. You're not going to see 2 guys and a tiger, right? You are going to see Siegfried and Roy, and you would be disappointed if they weren't there. And when you go to see the Blue Man Group, you're going to see an amazing show, and you don't even think about the people behind the blue makeup, right? You just saw some blue men put on this amazing show. And that really struck me, that business, those guys were, the guys who invented it, rich, and off enjoying whatever they like to do. One guy lives here in Florida. He's a big equestrian guy. And it struck me that that's kind of a precarious situation that Siegfried and Roy were in. And I wrote about it. I wrote about it in my in a newsletter, that just that, right? That the choice of being rich or famous. That was the thought that I had, right? That those guys are rich. Siegfried and Roy are rich, but they're famous, but that the danger is, and I would use the analogy because I was writing it to real estate agents who a lot of them want to build their team around their personality, right? They're building this personal brand as opposed to just building a team or a process that gets homes sold, you know? And I said to people, you know, that you're building the business around yourself is forcing you to be the center of attention, and it ultimately limits your ability to grow it, you know?
Wow.
And then literally 2 months later is when Roy got mauled by the tiger, and it changed the whole context of it, right? You realize how precarious that whole business was. And I started asking people, what would happen to your business if you got mauled by a tiger? You know, if you're looking at, right, like if you're and talking about it as tiger proofing your business, you know, and the Blue Man Group is a tiger proof business because it's a system that can that delivers a result, you know.
Right.
And so when I look at your situation here in terms of the way that it's set up, you're sort of the Siegfried and Roy, in that you're the famous, you're the face of it, the brand of it, kind of thing. Right now, to some degree, not necessarily. It's not inherently that we got to have Victor Pacini, right? That's not really the thing that is there. But you're now seeing what a view of what could be with your licensee, right? That you're almost, you, I think if you look at it, that the future of the company, the big scale opportunity is not, is removing it from being specifically about you and turning it to being the Erin's Law, you know, solution. That's really what that's really what it is. Funny that's the name of your book too, right? But that there's the thing that most people, they, until you introduce this to them, they have no idea who Victor Pacini is.
Right.
And that's nothing against you, but they don't know, and they don't know. But that's not like you know, it's not that isn't going into the decision. You could be anybody, but the way that you're presenting this message is unique, you know? Right.
Yeah. And the way it was created and all of that, the process, right? The process. And the thing that you said just now, there's kind of was a huge, interesting comment and aha moment was when you said, you know, building your team around your personality as opposed to building it around the process. Well, when I worked with Tom last summer, I mean, I trained him all summer, and I think I'm still holding on to a little bit of, well, you know, he's got to present it just like me, when in reality, no, he's got to present it like him. And I had a break for a day and I went to see his presentation, which was the weirdest thing because I'm watching, like, there's my program in front of me with kids and I'm sitting in the audience, and it was the most humbling experience because I'm like, holy cow. I mean, I'm proud of the fact that I could get to this point, so proud. But at the same time, I'm like, it's so weird that it's not me up there. So I was like kind of fighting back and forth. And I realized, you know, Tom is a different type of speaker than me. I'm very high energy, very like, I'm very high energy. But he's presenting the material the way I trained him to present it. But I even told him when we first started, I go, I don't want to clone me. That's not my point here. I want you to clone the message, but you have to do it with your story and the way you feel comfortable doing it. Yeah. And get this, if those people had never seen me before, they have nothing to compare it to. So they're looking at Tom as, this is Tom's program and he's doing a great job, and now we want him to come back next year, which is the next step with that too. So I think that's really important. If I want to take it to that level, I do have to remove myself and say, okay, I have created something that's awesome, and let's build a team around the process and not around who I am. Because I mean, you know, I love that. Do you want to be rich or famous? When I was in my 20s, I wanted to be so famous, but it's not so much that important to me anymore. You know what I mean? It's
right. No, I got it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. That's so important, I think. So yeah, I love that story.
And we want to add into this that you're really, you have a unique story in that this is a very personal thing, in that this happened to you, and that that you're ultimately, what's really happening is that you're bringing that awareness, and hopefully that if anything is happening with kids, that they feel safe to bring it up or to be seen and heard, right? I mean, that's really, that's a big shift. Have you had, I've never asked you this, but have you had situations where people have come forward after having done a program?
Yeah, I've had probably total of, and these are ones there's ones that I don't know of because some schools don't tell me after I leave, but I've had about 50 to 55 disclosures of kids, and probably 20 to 25 to 30 of them were the ones that came directly up to me after my presentation.
Wow, that's got to be an amazing feeling.
It is, because it's bittersweet, and that's how I describe it to everybody, because on one hand, I'm so sad for that person because I know what it was like to go through something like that, and gratefully so for me, it was only one time. And I know kids that it's ongoing. And on the other hand, I'm so happy because now they don't have to stay voiceless like I was for 11 years. It's interesting. Part of, it is a business. I have to make it a business, of course, but part of what I give to the kids is I wrote a book called Be Seen and Heard, which is the story of a little boy. And I don't tell them it's me until they get into third grade. But what I do at the end is I'm building up all this excitement about this book, and I go, how many of you want this book? And they all want a copy of the book. I said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you this bookmark, and this bookmark has some great messages from today on here. I want you to take this bookmark, and I want you to go home. On the back, there's an invitation for your parents to go to my website to get a free copy of the book. This does two things. One, it bridges the gap for parents to have a conversation with their kids because their parents are extremely uncomfortable. And then the second, it's getting another email address of someone who's raising their hand to get the book. And so there's all kinds of things, a lot of strategic objectives there that I am excited to share with you too. But the bottom line is that I had a fifth grader take the bookmark. She went home, wasn't ready to tell me that day. She sends me an email and says, Victor, thank you for coming to our school today. I want you to know that you're my trusted hero, and I was sexually abused, and I need to tell my parents. And so, what do you do? So she's like, please respond. Well, obviously I can't at that moment. I have to send it to the district. They took care of it. And then I said, listen, she trusted me to tell me this. I need to respond. So I did. And I said, you're a courageous little girl. You're so brave, blah, blah, blah. That's just the connection I get with kids. And it's just it's so phenomenal. I mean, I'm at the point now where I literally tell fifth graders and up, and I'll say to them, I kept it unsafe because the person who did this to me threatened me not to tell my parents, and I believed him. My father, who was not the most, he wasn't the easiest dad to talk to when I went home, basically never really wanted me to talk about any of my feelings. So between those two people, I stayed silent for 11 years. And I'm telling all of you sitting here today, don't be voiceless. Don't be like me for 11 years. And literally, this happened just a couple weeks ago. I had a fifth grader as they're walking out of the room after my presentation. I high-fived them. He said to me, I promise. I go, promise what? He's like, I'll never be like you. And that was a huge, amazing experience, because now I'm telling a lot of kids, I'm like, listen, you leave here today, promise me you'll never be like me. You would never normally say that to somebody, but I'm giving you permission to say, I'll never be like you, in the context of staying silent. So that has become this mantra now. They leave and they're like smiling, hey, Victor, I'll never be like you. I'm like, good, don't be like me. So it's become a whole, this whole thing. Anyway, it's just a powerful program, and it's very exciting. So
So I think, this whole process here, what you've got now is the opportunity with this happening in 30 states right now. you've got so much opportunity to really help spread that word. I can't imagine that there are tons and tons and tons of options for school districts with this, right? That that are proactively seeking it out as being a solution provider. Certainly, nobody who's marketing it as well as you are.
Right. I don't think so. No, I mean, there's a lot of free organizations that come out to schools. Schools are purchasing online curriculums that have been around for a long time. Schools are creating their own, which creates a lot of stress in and of itself. But I don't think. I just went to a conference in California, and a lot of the schools that came up to me, what's Erin's law? What do we have to do? So again, it's an unfunded mandate. I mean, there are some funds being released, but it's interesting when people find out that this is really creating a great result. They're finding the money they're finding it in their budgets to bring this out to their schools. So, I guess my question to you is, in terms of, am I spreading myself too thin? It's 30 states. I mean, I would love to have a list of everybody in all 30 states, but that takes a lot of work, obviously. Do you recommend that I would just totally saturate? I mean, Illinois, there's a lot of schools in Illinois that haven't had me yet. I mean, I'm kind of touching upon Vermont right now.
You're in a situation right now where you've got, I think that you're shifting into an after unit driven business. I mean, if you're doing 5 a day right now, you're touching a lot of schools, right? You're doing a lot of programs,
right?
And that just like you said, the number one focus, because it's an annual thing, is they want to get their situation handled. You want to handle it with them. And you're doing exactly the right thing, is focusing on your after unit of that, right? Getting rebooked as many of those as you can, and getting them booked in advance. That's really a big win. And I would look at just on the business of it, setting up a metric that you measure there too, right? Like to see how many of these am I actually getting rebooked into? Like, what's your rebooking percentage, whether it's booked in advance or booked, at the same school, more just in time, year after year. And that's okay too, right?
Right.
It's just that you're that great option there. But at the same time, I think where you have the big opportunity is in finding more Toms, finding people who can deliver your program, and maybe having a variety of different people in different areas, Like, I think if you look at the states that are offering this, that there's probably lots of opportunities there. You just wonder how many schools. When you're saying you're doing 5 a day, are you doing 5 at one school, like to different classes, or you do one assembly style, or
no?
How does it work?
Yeah. It's not one size fits all because of the topic and the way it's designed. It's not like you talk about
let's all go to the gym.
Yeah. Right. So what it is, it's an intimate topic. So we try to, it varies, but we try to do an intimate amount of kids, but it's like by certain grade levels, and the language changes. So I'm doing 5 a day at a school. So if it's a 5-school district, I'm there for the 5 days, going to a different school in that district, doing 5 presentations. I used to do 8 a day. I just couldn't do it anymore. I physically couldn't do it. So I scaled back, and I said I'd rather have. I've gotten really good at delivering the program when you do it over and over again. So I said, if I have to compromise and have a little bit bigger of a group, that's fine. I'll be able to manage it. So we'll do 5 a day at a school, and that seems to be the ideal. Some schools might have me do 4, some might have me do 6, depending on what's happening. But typically it's 5.
Most
so
of them
that's
are
a whole
going to
day.
do what you say. That's really the reality, right? You're gonna be the expert on how to do this. Here's how we work. This is what we do, and they go along because they're looking for leadership. That's the thing, right? Everybody knows. Oh, we got to do our errands. Well, what does that mean? And you're there to tell them what that means, and I got this for you. I got you handled. So you look at all of these school districts, in all of these different states, and there's some, big that solution. Every one of those is looking for a solution,
right.
And I think it's really about building that out. Like you've got all of the things. I mean, you've been working so hard over the last several years here to really build this all out. It's really just been in the last 18 months or a year that it's really all gelled together right now, And so you've got all of those assets that you've created in terms of all the marketing knowledge that you have now for it, So you've figured out how to, in Profit Activator 1 who your target market is. You've got a tool in Profit Activator 2 to engage and to get them to raise their hand. You've got all the things that you're doing in Profit Activator 3 to educate and motivate them. You've got your offers that you're making in your super signature for them. And your during unit, of course, is on lock. I mean, you've got that process down that as soon as somebody says yes, you've able to deliver that for them, deliver a great experience, all with an eye to getting rebooked for next year in the after unit. I mean, you've got all of that there, so much so that if you were to just if something would happen and you pulled the plug on everything that you've got right now and moved you to Vermont, like you said, is Vermont coming on board or whatever, I know that you have 100% confidence that you would be able to plop yourself into Vermont and do and execute and have yourself booked.
Oh yeah, I think I know I could. I mean, I know I could. It might take a little time, but once I start, it's one of these things where one person sees it, it starts snowballing, and that's why I think I don't necessarily have to send out the ebook to everybody in every state. I just think once it starts happening, it's going to start a snowball effect of that. And really quick, and I'm just looking at my scorecard in front of me here. I wanted to bring up this after sales service. Something that I'm working on this summer is, the law states up to 4 communications a year on Erin's Law. It doesn't mean 4 presentations, but 4 communications. It could be as little as a poster on a wall. It could be, in the bathrooms in the second grade wing, they see a poster that says, be safe, whatever it says. So what I did was I've been getting a lot of feedback from teachers and social workers saying, hey, Victor, they're not following up with my follow-up questions and the things I want them to do. And I'm like, why aren't you doing that? And they're like, well, because everyone is very uncomfortable talking about abuse to their students. And I get that. I really get that. So I thought to myself, okay, what can I provide the districts once I'm gone? And so what I decided to do this summer, and I think this is a great, I'm not going to charge extra for it. It's all going to be wrapped up. It's going to be basically once I'm there doing the core presentation, and a month later they're going to get an email from me. Hey, your first communication is up. Go log in to my online course, and I'm going to create 2 to 3 minute video modules to review from what they saw before, and then to get something to stick. And that 1 2 to 3 minute video is all they have to show for that communication. And then I'll do 2 more for the rest of the year. And this way, the teachers can have complete confidence. They don't have to do anything but log in, press play, and sit there and watch their kids watch this video for 2 minutes. Hey, it's Victor. I'm back again. I want you to know we talked about this last time. This is what I want you to focus on now. And that is like the easy button solution. Plus, I'm providing after-sales service. Plus, I'm providing, hey, I'm on their mind still for coming back the following year. It just becomes a full package of this is the whole kit for Erin's Law. This is how you fulfill it. So
that's it. You're going all the way. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, so I wanted to share that with you because I think that's something that I've been, you want to give people what they want and need and all that stuff. So they definitely aren't, you want them, you're not getting everybody who's jumping on board with this. They're not, they have to come and see it. Teachers sometimes don't want to come and all this stuff. So I'm trying to make it as easy as possible to say, hey, here it is for you. Go ahead and just do it, So.
Yes. And I think that's fantastic. And now, for you to start thinking about about Tom as an example,
right.
You've got, there's somebody who maybe doesn't want to be a marketer and build a business around this. They want to look at their calendar and say, you're going to this school, this school, this school, this school. Here's your bookings. And that could, when you look at it, that you've got an option of training somebody in how to do the whole thing, meaning here's the marketing part of it too, or you've got the opportunity of just training somebody on how to do the during unit of it, right, and you doing the marketing.
Right.
Because that's really that would be a dream come true for Tom and people like Tom, multiple Toms. A dream come true for most of them would be to just go and do the presentation.
Right.
And not have to worry about doing all the marketing and figuring out all that and running the business of it. Is just, here's the fee, let me go do it, and you give me a check, right? And that would be, I think there would be a lot of people who would love that scenario,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all done for them. All they have to do is learn the material and go in and present it, and they get paid for that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the way I ran it this last year was I trained Tom all summer on the program, and then I trained him on, and again, this is all the things I've been learning about the marketing end of it, because I told him, I said, the first year you're kind of on your own because I don't have the time at that moment because I was so booked up this year. I'm like, I will help you as much as I can. I mean, we did weekly calls and all that, but I said, you need to kind of set up your own way of communicating with people, finding your own leads and that kind of thing. And I helped him and I gave him leads and we worked. He's very happy, I think, the way. But I will tell you this, he was very frustrated because he's like,
of course
this is so important. Why am I not getting booked every single day? Because
exactly.
Right.
And you kind of downplay what it took you to figure that out. I mean, you've invested so much time and money in getting the knowledge and the wisdom to put together the marketing of this,
Right.
So when you look at it now, that executing on that, you've got what I always refer to as the scale-ready algorithm, right? There's not a piece of your puzzle that's not in place right now. You've got you've got the ability to, go out to the districts, to the emails. They're all public. It's easy to get. They're all, it's just effort. It's work, right? I always look at, did you hear the episode of I Love Marketing with Richard Viguerie, the guy who built the conservative fundraising business?
I don't think so, no.
So Richard Viguerie, he's 90 years old now and just as vital as you can imagine, right? Just constantly, working on marketing every day. And he talked about how when in 1962, I guess, whenever at one of the presidential elections, and I don't remember who was running for president or who the conservative candidate was, but it was the first year that anybody that donated $100 to a presidential political campaign had to be registered right? You had to register that they donated that money, and they kept records of it, right? And he thought, you know what, that would be a valuable list to have. So he went to wherever they keep the records, and he, through the public, through access, and we have access to every public record, he was able to get all of those records, and he started handwriting out the names and the addresses of all of the people, and he hired 6 ladies to come in with him, and at the end of it, they had 12,000 people who had donated $100 or more. They had the name, address, contact information for those people who donated. At the time, $100 in the 60s was a significant amount of money. So that was a valuable list, and he talked about that as like the turning point for him, right? Even though nobody really would put in the effort to get that list, it got to where they would go and do that for all over the country. Every governor campaigns and senator campaign everywhere, all the political things, and now they've got he built a whole empire around it. He's one of the guys that was credited with getting Ronald Reagan elected president.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty fascinating thing that you've got there's a finite number of key people in school districts that are the list that you would need to communicate with,
Right.
And that is that once you know that that's what you need, you can show anybody how to get that list, right? You can show anybody how to go physically and create that, and what email to send to them, and that when they respond, you're going to be able to engage in this dialogue with them, right? So all of the pieces of it, and it would be easy for you to scale that, to execute it with people that you can train to do each element of it.
Right. And also with the online modules too, because I offer that as a licensing piece too, and then this live stream idea that I'm working on, where, I mean, the vision I have for that is, I mean, I can sell these to school districts anywhere. They show up at the kids, at their computer, and I'm right there live in front of them, and I'm in front of an audience, and I'm doing the presentation, and then I could take questions from different states at the end. I mean, I see that being, I mean, that could become the live part of my work, where I only work a couple times a month doing those, and then I'm building, I got Tom, we use the word Tom because it's Tom, but all these other people doing it, and it becomes this Blue Man Group philosophy.
That's exactly the thinking, right? That's exactly the thinking, but you own it. But you're not creating all these individual, self-contained, units of Tom, where now Tom's going to go out and he's going to have to do all of that stuff in a specific territory. You're centralizing what can be centralized, because there's a lot of economies in that. And you're the one that owns the relationship with all of these schools, right? So next year, right. So now it's you're just using them as you're plugging in contractors, essentially, right? To go and deliver that, to deliver their presentation, which is really what people want. Now, that's probably not going to be a lifetime career for some people, but they may want to do it a couple of seasons, and then you have new people who can go out and deliver it.
Right.
Yeah,
that's great. That's really great.
And then that becomes, now you've got something that, your first choice would be that they license your online program, or that they do a live stream, and then if they, either way, but you can also provide them with a live training.
Right.
And I think
great.
that's really the way to think about it. That you think about all of it. That you're going to be the organization that is the leader in fulfilling Erin's Law mandates.
Right.
And it's not just you, or you're not just training a bunch of individuals to go out and, some of them might not do it the way that you do it,
Right. But it's a different way of looking at it. Instead of training them to, here's what you do with the marketing, go ahead. I mean, is it still considered a licensee though? Because
I don't think I would look at it as a licensee. I would look at it as as giving them an opportunity. It's probably easier to find people who just want to do the presentation part of it.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense, because it simplifies it then. You don't have to go through, I mean, you have to have an agreement, of course, because it's a very difficult topic, and you have to be careful who you bring into school and all that stuff. Right.
Yeah.
But in terms
and
of
everybody have to be vetted and trained and all of that.
Right.
But there's certainly, it's easier to build on that foundation than it would be to train them in all the marketing and all the stuff,
Right. No, that's a completely, I mean, it's still producing the same result, but we're looking at it from a different perspective. Right.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, because, I mean, Tom is
and that way that allows your business to grow. That allows your business to grow, to scale, right? Because now, not just like that, you're not dependent on their, you're not dependent on them doing anything other than the presentations.
Well, plus then it gives them an opportunity to focus just on that and really nail it down and get it to the point where it's really solid and you're ready to go out. You don't have to worry about any of the backstage stuff. You just you work the program and you go out there and do it. So now that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because it's interesting. It takes a lot of explaining sometimes when you're trying to tell somebody when you're to write an email and your logo needs to be out of there. No logos. Well, what do you mean no logos? No logos. It's just it's a whole mind shift of teaching.
I know.
People.
Yeah, you're right.
Right. And I'm still learning. So it's like, why? Maybe you're right here, and not maybe, but like, why try to train somebody else on the marketing? I'm just getting good at doing it for me. I can do it for you too, kind of a thing. I'll do it for you.
We just need to clone you doing the presentations, really. So you can.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because I you talk about it all the time. Lifestyle and that. I'm 45. I'm crazy busy. I mean, I have a wife and 3 children, and we have a great life. But it's a lot of work, and I come home at the end of the day, and my kids. Here I am with kids all day, and I got my 3 kids taking them to baseball, and I'm by no means complaining, but it's like 5 presentations. I'm drained. It's like, let's free that up a little bit. You know what I mean? Let's free it up and let's make it simpler and more impactful, because the less I do, the more impact I think I'm going to have.
I think you're right.
Makes any sense, right? So that's awesome. That's great. Well,
it's all very exciting. So what's your action plan?
My action plan is to listen to this when it comes out for sure and take more. I didn't really take any notes because I knew it was going to be recorded. So I'm like, let's have a talk. Let's talk. But yeah, I think what I'm going to do is, I did write down a couple of takeaways. One would be, start thinking of it more in terms of an after unit business, in terms of reaching out more to my current clients and saying, again, it's that whole referral thing. If you know anybody who's talking about Erin's Law, could you please let them know? I'll send them, bring it up, whatever. But really just say, hey, do really maybe even call them up, because I know a lot of them very personally now, and say, could you help me in that capacity? I think what I'm going to start doing now is to really sit down and, okay, well, I have Tom here who's going to continue on for next year. So what's the next step? How do I, what do I do to find somebody else? And here's a question really quick. I know we're ending on time here, but the question I have is, in the beginning, I thought I have to find somebody who not only can present and perform to some degree, but also has a story of abuse. But maybe not necessarily. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I can. Maybe there's an actor out there or a performer who knows how to sing a little bit. There's not a lot of singing required in this program, but can present. And then instead of they're telling their story, they're telling my story in that program. And it doesn't have to be. I don't have to necessarily find, survivors to present the program necessarily. So it can be. Right. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. So. Right. So. Yeah, I don't know exactly where to start with that in terms of, do I start just going online and finding, finding people who are looking for potential work in the performance space? Maybe they're graduating.
You wouldn't have to go very far.
No,
probably
not at all.
In your community theater and your, those kind of things, I'm sure.
Right. Can you imagine, and I've always had this vision of, someone who is, they buy into the story, into the idea. Now, if they are a survivor, it makes it even more impactful. But the fact is that, they're going to be impacting kids' lives, and they're going to get to do what they love to do, and that's perform and present. It doesn't get any better than that. So, so that's the mindset. I want to start kind of attracting these people and start thinking about in terms of what you said, like maybe making this an organization and not a licensing kind of a thing, and start putting all this marketing together for everybody. And again, start telling people, my new clients that start calling for this upcoming year, saying, okay, you're going to get a be seen and heard presenter. It may be me, it may be some, whatever they're going to get, but just so that they know that it's not just me presenting the program, and it's a team of be seen and heard presenters.
That's right. That's exactly right. And that once you become that you're the official, the more that you grow this, that's reassuring that you're the national leader in Erin's Law content.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So that is the plan, and then to another action plan too is to, within all these emails, is to start getting people on board to do live streams, especially people out of state. And that requires a lot of planning in terms of getting a company to be able to handle that kind of a thing, with all that, because there's a lot involved with live streams, I'm guessing they're easier than they used to be.
Getting easier and easier,
Yeah, so that's very exciting to me, and then to solidify the online and start licensing those out too. So there's a lot of stuff going on. It all connects together, but I think the biggest takeaway here is to look at my business as an organization of a team of people that are focused and created around the process of what it is that I do, not about me specifically, and go from there. I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
So
awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
I'm so happy for you. I'm glad everything is working out, and I love that it's doing good in the world. That's even the bonus, Yeah.
Exactly. It's doing great. It's making a difference, one child at a time, and it's just awesome. And I thank you for all of what you've offered everybody, in your group. And it's been a great way to, it takes time sometimes to really understand something. You have to look at it and read it and study it over and over again until it really sinks in. And finally, after looking at all this, it just seems like everything is fitting into place, and it's getting easier and easier to understand it. And always room to grow, but at the same time, to understand what a super signature is and what to do and how to put it together. And really, it's fun. It's fun now.
Yeah,
it's really,
that's great. It's so awesome.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's so cool. So, thank you. Thank you so much,
Victor. We'll talk again.
Okay, take care, Dean. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And there we have it. Another great episode. Thanks for listening in. If you want to continue the conversation, we'll go deeper in how the 8 profit activators can apply to your business. 2 things you can do. Right now, you can go to morecheeselesswhiskers.com and you can download a copy of the More Cheese, Less Whiskers book. And you can listen to the back episodes, of course, if you're just listening here on iTunes. Secondly, the thing that we talk about in applying all of the 8 profit activators are part of the breakthrough DNA process. And you can download a book and a scorecard and watch a video all about the 8 profit activators at breakthroughdna.com. And that's a great place to start the journey in applying this scientific approach to growing your business. That's really the way we think about Breakthrough DNA as an operating system that you can overlay on your existing business and immediately look for insights there. So that's it for this week. Have a great week, and we will be back next time with another episode of More Cheese, Less Whiskers.